Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the previous class, we discussed about different types of mergers and acquisitions. Then we discussed about why do firms merge or acquire other businesses. And then after that, we discussed about problems in achieving acquisition success. Now today we are going to discuss some terminologies in mergers and acquisition. The first one, it is white knight. I will make it a bit clear for you. Now I think it will be clear. Okay. Now the first terminology that is used, it is called white knight. Now what is white knight? In a business, a white knight is a friendly investor that acquires a corporation at a fair consideration with the support from corporation's board of directors and management. This may be during a period while it is facing a hostile acquisition from another potential acquirer called black knight, or it is facing bankruptcy. Now what does it mean? See, this is firm A and this is firm B. Now this firm is a growing firm. There is growth in this firm. Now the owner of this firm, they are meeting with the board of directors, means the management of this firm B, and they are convincing them that we want to purchase your company's shares, or we want to acquire your firm, and they are giving a good consideration, means they are paying a price which is higher than the market price of the shares. Board of directors of firm B, they discuss this thing in a meeting and they reach a point that yes, it will be beneficial for the shareholders of the company. Means this board of director is willing to be acquired by firm A. This firm A, they want to purchase B, and the board of director, the management of this firm B, they are willing that firm A acquires them. It will be good for the shareholders of the company. So this is called what we call white knight. Now, what is he saying? A white knight is a friendly investor. He's a friendly investor because that acquires a corporation at a fair consideration. They are paying good money for each share with the support from corporation's board of directors and management. And the board of directors, The management, they are willing on this acquisition. And this may be during a period while it is facing a hostile acquisition. Now, what is hostile acquisition? There is a firm C, and this firm C, they also wants to purchase this firm B, but the management, the board of directors, they are not willing to the acquisition of this company C. They discuss this thing in board of directors, and they think that the shareholders will not get good results. That the shareholders will not they will not get the good results. So they are not willing with this acquisition of firm C. But firm C, what are they doing? They are meeting with shareholders individually, and they are paying good prices to them. Board of directors are not willing, but this firm C, they are meeting with the shareholders individually, and they are paying good prices, and they start purchasing the shares of that company. So this acquisition is hostile acquisition, and this acquisition is friendly acquisition. When board of director is willing, that is friendly, and if board of director is not willing, that is called hostile. So this is the situation when they are already facing a hostile acquisition from another potential acquirer. That potential acquirer will be called black knight, or it is facing bankruptcy, or there is possibility that this firm B, they are becoming bankrupt. There is possibility that this firm will become bankrupt. So these are the two situations. Bankrupt becomes the firm is unable to repay the debts on time. So there is possibility that in the near future, this firm will become bankrupt. So white knight is basically a friendly investor who want to purchase the firm B, and with the willingness of board of directors and management. Bear hug, another concept. Acquirer mails the letters to director of target firm, announcing intentions and requiring a quick decision on bid. A bear hug is an offer made by one company to buy the shares of another company for much higher per share price than what that company is worth. Now, bear hug is what? That this firm, suppose the value of their share, it is $50 per share. Suppose. But this firm is mailing to the board of directors of this firm that we will pay much higher price than their market value, than the market value of this firm B. We will pay much higher price. We will pay $70 per share. So the board of directors in meeting, they think that shareholders of this firm B, they will get benefit from this acquisition. So this type of strategy, this is called bear hug. And the last one is poison pill. Now, what is poison pill? A poison pill, it is a tactic used by a company threatened with unwelcome takeover bid to make itself unattractive to the bidder. Now, what is poison pill? Poison pill, it is also a strategy. This is our firm B. There is a firm C who wants to acquire this firm B. They want to acquire and they start purchasing shares of this company. Now, poison pill is any tactic used by the management of this firm B to make this firm unattractive. In the eyes of this firm C. But okay, they start purchasing the shares of this firm B. Suppose the total number of shares of this company, it is 2000, this firm B. And they purchased 400 shares. So 400 shares, it will be 20% of 2000. So mean they already got 20% shares of this company B, firm C. They acquired 20% shares of this firm B and they are purchasing the shares. So maybe this thing will increase 20%, then 30%, then 40%, then 50%. So what the management did, they issued another 1600 shares. Suppose when they issued additional 1600 shares, so now the total number of shares, it becomes 3600. Now see, previously firm C had 400 shares out of 2000. So it becomes what? It becomes 20%. 4 divided by 20. So 0.0, 22s are 40. So their percentage ownership, it will be 20%. 0.2 means 20%. But now, when the company issued additional 1600 shares, so now what will be their ownership? See, 400 divided by 3600. So it will become, I think, 11%. Previously, their ownership was 20%, but now their ownership becomes 11%. So now, this thing will be what? Will be unattractive, because firm C, they were trying to get more and more shares, so their ownership, it will be increased. But when the firm B issued additional shares, now their ownership is 11%. So now this acquisition will become what? Will become unattractive for them, because they will pay more money for getting the ownership, more and more ownership. So this is a tactic. Target company threatens to load the balance sheet with debt. There is another strategy that they are adding more and more debt in the balance sheet. The acquirer effectively gets more debt than the business can handle. Now, if this firm, they took more loan from the bank, now if this firm is acquiring this firm, so in this case, they will also pay the loans of this company, this firm C. So if they will take more and more loans, so this bid will become unattractive for firm C, because if the loans increases, their liability will also increase if they start purchasing the shares of the company. So this firm B, there is another strategy that they are taking more and more loans from banks and financial institutions. So when this firm acquires this firm B, so in that case, they will also take the liabilities of these companies. Just like asset is equal to liability plus owner's equity. So when they are purchasing assets of the company, so they will also take the liabilities of this company B. So now this firm C, they will also pay the liabilities of this company. So when firm C, the management of firm C looks at the balance sheet and they look at the loan, that the loans are increasing, and we will also pay the loans of this company, so this bid will become unattractive for them. So this is called poison pill. So we discussed about three things. One is white knight, one is bear hug, and one is poison pill. Shortly, white knight is what? In white knight, simply this firm A wants to acquire firm B, and board of directors of firm B, they are willing. With the willingness of board of director. This is called white knight. Bear hug is what? That firm A is paying much higher price than their market value. So this will be what? This we call it bear hug. And the third one is poison pill. That there is a firm C, he wants to purchase this firm B, but the board of director is not willing, and in this case they are trying to make this firm unattractive for firm C. Any tactic, any strategy that is adopted by the board of directors of firm B to make these firms unattractive in the eyes of the management of this firm. So this is called poison pill. One technique is taking too much loan, so the balance sheet, the debts of the company B, it will increase, and this firm B, for this firm B, this will become unattractive bid. So we call it poison pill. Now, this is the end of this chapter. Now, the next chapter, it is about dividend and its forms, and dividend policy, it will be the next chapter. Now what is dividend? You people know about dividend, that dividend is to pay cash out of the earnings to its owners in the form of cash or stocks. Dividend means that this firm generate profit. Suppose they generate $100,000 profit. And total number of shareholders of this firm, it is 10,000. Now out of the profits, they are paying some amount to the shareholders, 10,000 shareholders. Now out of 1 lakh profit, suppose they distribute $40,000 in the shareholders. this portion of profit which is distributed in the shareholders, it can be in the form of cash or it can be in the form of additional stock dividend. We'll discuss it later on. So we call it what? We call it dividend. A portion of company's profit paid to common and preferred shareholders. Another definition, a distribution of a portion of company's earnings decided by board of directors to a class of its shareholders. And keep in mind, the decision about the distribution of a portion of company's earnings, who will decide about this dividend? The board of directors will decide that we will pay how much dividend. We will pay 30% dividend, 40% dividend, 50% dividend, 60% or 100% dividend. So this decision is in the hand of board of directors. We call it dividend. The dividend is most often quoted in terms of dollar amount each share receives. Basically, mostly dividend is in the form of dollar amount, that we will pay $2 dividend, $1 dividend, $0.05 dividend, like $1 dividend per share, $2 dividend per share, 0.5 cents are dollars per share. These are per share, and the amount, it is in dollars. Mostly it is in the form of dollar amount. It can also be quoted in terms of a percent of the face value, referred to as dividend yield. In case of preferred stock, it is 5% preferred stock, or 3% preferred stock, or 2% preferred stock. Whatever that is, it can also be quoted in percentage. Mostly it is in the form of preferred stockholders. Preferred dividend, it is in percentages. It is one of the major cash outflow for corporation, and for company it is the major cash outflow because they are paying cash to the shareholders in the form of cash. So it is major cash outflow for corporations. Dividend reduces cash while retained earnings generate reserves for the company. Just like here, I told you, if 1 lakh is the profit, we paid 40,000 to shareholders. So this 40,000 will reduce the cash of this company. And the retained earnings, 60,000 retained earnings, it will increase reserves of the company. These will be the reserves, the retained earnings. These will be reserves. Dividend may be in the form of cash, stock, or property. There are different forms of dividend. It can be in the form of cash, it can be in the form of additional stock, or it can be in the form of property. Later on, we will discuss about all these forms of all these forms of dividends. Now there are different forms of dividend payment. One is a regular cash dividend. The other is extra or special dividends. We also call it interim dividend. Then there is another type of dividend that is called stock dividend. Then there is another type of dividend that is called liquidating dividend. Another type that is called scrip dividend. Dividend in kind or property in kind dividend, just like we discussed. And then we'll discuss about dividend reinvestment plan. But for today, I think it will be enough. I will see the length of this video. It is becoming, I think, 25 minutes. So inshallah, in the next class, then we will talk about different forms of dividend payments. Regular cash, extra dividend, stock dividend, liquidating dividend, scrip dividend, property in kind dividend, and then the last topic that we will discuss, it will be dividend reinvestment plan. Okay, then assalamu alaikum.